Hello everyone, it's Amy, and welcome back for week 39 of Build Your Stash and Craft. This week we are going to make toilet paper embellishments, and what we will need is some toilet paper, some paintbrushes, our water glue, and some water, which I actually forgot to get. And what we are going to make are these toilet paper embellishments. Here is a butterfly, and this one has been, I put water glue on it just to seal it off after it was dry. And then this one I painted. I did not put water glue on this one. I painted it because the paint is actually, your craft paints are just made out of basically a plastic. They're acrylic. Acrylic is plastic. So this is just a craft paint from Apple Barrel that we got at Walmart. And so once you get that completely sealed, and I did it all the way around to make sure I sealed it, that makes sure that holds it together. This one is I made with water and water glue as I made it. The others I only made just with the toilet paper and the water. So this is toilet paper, water, and water glue. And this one I made thinner because the first ones that I made, excuse me, I made as thick as my little cookie cutters were, and really they don't need to be that thick. And they took 24 hours to dry. Yeah. And or maybe even a little bit longer. So then the next time when I made this one with the water glue, I only made it about half as deep as the thickness of my cookie cutter, and that dried within, like, this dried within 12 hours, I think. I think that this was 36. So it takes a while to just let them dry. Now you can dry them, people dry them in the oven, and you would have to look up temperatures for that. I don't like to give those temperatures or anything because to me, I just don't think you should put paper in the oven. But it's totally, people do it, but it just scares me because fire scares me. So, but you can dry them with your blow dryer, you can dry them with your heat gun, and all of that will really help the process. Now this one here, again, it's as thick as the cookie cutter is, and this cookie cutter is actually even thicker. Yeah, when you put them up there, that one is even thicker than these. And I made it the full thickness of the cookie cutter, and this one is still damp, and it has been 48 hours. So, and if it's damp on the outside, you know that it's still quite damp on the inside. You would really have to let these dry for a long time because you don't want to paint them or anything until they are dry. Even to put the water glue on, even if they have water glue in them, the whole point is you have to let them dry and then seal them because you don't want to seal that moisture inside, or you could have a problem where they could mold inside, and that would really be gross. So this one definitely I would not, it definitely would not make it this thick again. So, and if you notice, they do have a little bit of coloring on them. We got a new well last year, and it has rust in it, and so we're still waiting for our water softener and iron out machine and all sorts of things, which they're supposed to be coming this fall to do that. So, but right now my water gives it a little bit of a tinge, but that's all right because we're going to paint it anyways. So this is what we're going to do today. It is so easy, and you have the option of putting them together with just water or water and water glue. And I'm going to go grab some water and be right back. Okay, I got my water and I'm back. And so all you do, it's very simple. What I like to do is for the very first layer, I like to cover the whole thing, the whole inside, so that the first layer is a solid layer. And we're going to do this one. This is balloons, and it does have some little strings on here. And I'm not going to, I could do the whole thing to the top level and just barely pick up this string embossment, but I'm going to do the balloons, and then I can just put string on them on my package because this is too short really for how many balloons and everything. Those little tiny things there that are supposed to look like the strings to hold the balloon, to me that's doesn't really work. So with the first one, just use a whole piece, which the whole piece, it takes a few minutes to kind of get it in there. You want to get it in every little nook and cranny. You want to try and keep it fairly flat. you know, it will have a few wrinkles and everything in it, but you want to get as much of it as you can without wrinkles. And just press it down in there. Once you get this part done, which takes a few minutes, the rest of it is super, super easy. But if, you know, you just want to make sure that you just get it pressed in there really nicely so that all of the rest of them gives you the shape that you're looking for. And again, I am not going to make this as deep as this cookie cutter is because it will take forever to dry. And if you're going to put it on a project, you don't necessarily want it to pop up that much anyways. Okay, so I've got that all pressed in. I'm going to hold really tight here. Just kind of pull this toilet paper off. I just didn't want to, before one time I went to pull it off and I pulled the whole thing out. So just make sure you hold on to it good. So there, and then just kind of fold that over so it's out of your way. And then all you're going to do, it's just simple as pie, just put it in pieces at a time. This brush is not working well. I had a different brush before. Here we go. You want kind of a stiff brush. This brush came out of the set that we bought, and it's a fairly stiff brush. I think I just put water on the camera. Hopefully it's not on the lens. And so you're just going to, you can break off a piece and put it in there and do it that way. I usually just take a larger piece and just rip it with the paintbrush. And you just want it, don't go in the same spot all the time, because what you want is you want all these different separate overlaps. I think that's what holds it together really well when you don't glue it. If you do it just one flat layer, over and over and over, those layers will want to separate. But these ones, being that they're all intertwined, they stick together better. And so you just go until you get it as deep as you want it. The first time that I ever saw this was on YouTube, and it was Secret Soda that was making them. And I had to try it because I had some molds, but I didn't have any clay at home at the time. And it worked really, really well. I'm also going to show you how to make some flat embellishments, kind of a flat embossed embellishment with this type of cutter. Now you could actually fill each one of these spots just like this, and then take them out and have individual pieces to put together. Or you can just make an embossed flat sheet. Whenever you do the flat sheets where you're just layering one flat sheet on top of another, you do have to use the water glue for those, because when they dry, they will look like they're all stuck together nicely. I made some where I just put pieces of, I just folded the toilet paper and folded the toilet paper, and I put it through my embossing machine, and it looked really cool. And then when I went to use it, all the layers separated. So you definitely have to use glue when it's just a flat layer on top of a flat layer. So then what I did was, after I found out that happened, I went through and I sealed all those layers. Like, I sealed the ones that I embossed with, I sealed them with water glue before I painted them and played with them and glued them onto my projects. And then they did stay together. So if you ever do it and you forget to put the glue on, you'll have to carefully put the glue on after they dry. But that's the ones where the layers are just flat pieces of toilet paper on top of each other. Now this one, what I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to I want to quit in this area. So I just kind of want to make sure that my balloons have a bit of a flat bottom. It doesn't have to be perfectly flat. It doesn't have to look pretty with no wrinkles or anything. It's going to be the bottom of your project. And it's okay to put a lot of water in there. That doesn't hurt anything because we're going to squish it out here in just a minute. Okay, so I think that I have this as deep as I want it. I think I need a little bit more over here. I have coverage of all the balloons, I think. That's the only thing. If you're doing something that this is different, has different layers to it, you want to make sure that you get to that very last layer before you stop. All right, I'm going to put just a little bit more on these layers that are higher up, and I didn't kind of get in those little corners. I can see that they're really low once I push on it. And that's what you do, just use your brush, push around the edges, push in the middle, and see where you have low spots, and then just add a little bit more to those low spots. And then once we get this done, we'll need a piece of paper towel. And you can do this with any kind of mold that you have. Or if you do have embossing folders, you can do this with your embossing folders if you use your water glue. Now you don't want to put in pieces that are super wadded up. You want them to be fairly flat when you put them in. Maybe a layer or two. I'm going to push into those corners really good. I think I've got it where I want it. And I'm going to take a piece of paper towel, put it on here, and just squish. You're going to squish that down into the mold. It's going to make it more solid. And also, you're going to do this until you get a lot of the water out, until your paper towel stops getting soaked. And that is going to help it stick together better, and it's also going to help it dry quicker. And then you can just set your paper towel aside, let it dry to use again later on another one. But see, it's still getting quite wet every time that I do it, so I'm going to just keep going. I'll probably go around this whole piece of paper towel. And I'm kind of, because this has all those different levels and everything, I'm kind of pushing in each one of those areas. And then we'll see how this turns out. Now I also do leave a little bit up on the edges somewhere. Like this, we've got some sticking over the edge here. We've got some sticking over the edge here. And what that does is that helps, and that's the first piece that we put in that we left hanging over the edge like that. And that just kind of helps to loosen it a little bit, and you'll just go around. Now normally I've kind of got this little bit of edge all the way around, but I wound up pulling it off, so that didn't help me any. Because that helps you lift this out of here. And once it starts coming, then it usually comes pretty good. I've never done one with this many layers in it. You want to just take it slow so you don't ruin your pattern. And there we go. They all came out. Okay. Going to kind of, because I made that curl back just a little bit, I'm just going to kind of flatten it out just a little bit. And so here we have our balloons. If you want to, you can trim all of this off right now, or you can even fold it back underneath so it does not dry sticking out. And then you just set it aside to dry. If you'd like to dry it with your heat gun, your blow dryer, you can do that too. But I'm just going to kind of fold this all under. Then you don't have to deal with it when it's dry. Otherwise you can let it dry like that and then just go through and trim it all off once it is dry. I think it goes this way, and there we go. We've got our balloons, and we just have to let those dry now. And they're already, you know, they're damp, but they're not super wet because we squished all that water out. And so that's how you make these. You also have the ones with the little patterns in them. You do it exactly the same way. One solid piece on the bottom, and then just layer it up. But like I said, I wouldn't necessarily layer it all the way to the top. You only need to go about halfway and then pull it out. And you'll have a nice thinner piece to deal with. And, you know, comparing these two together. And also, it will dry quicker if you do it that way. So I will be back in just a minute, and I will show you how to do the flat ones. Okay, I'm back, and I forgot to say in the beginning that the little things that we are using came from the Dollar Tree, and they're just out of the kids section, little Play-Doh cookie cutters, and they come with a lot of variety of different things. It's got some fruit in here. It's got this little shovel, which you can use to pick up little seed beads and that type of thing. You do have a little brayer, and just all sorts of, the only thing, I'm not so sure exactly how those scissors would work, but you never know. But all of these things, you know, this you can use as a mark maker on your jelly plate. Just drag it across there. So there's some really cool things. You could even actually use your toilet paper in here and make a little face, because those things would actually pop through. So there's all these cool little things that you can use for this. And I'm going to set those aside now, but I just wanted to let you know where this all came from. And we are going to work on our little duck. So now for this one, we do need our water glue and our water, and I like to make these about 12 layers thick or so, because I'm only going to do the duck. The one I did earlier, I did 2, so I put one at the top and one at the bottom, but I'm going to do 7 layers and then fold it in half and put the duck on there. So, and the reason I'm doing 7 is I do water, then glue, then water, then glue, then water, then glue, and then I need a piece to put on top. For that one, I used this brush that we got in our set earlier, and I start with water. I am working on a piece of our parchment paper. No, I'm not. I forgot. The way that I did it earlier, to make sure that it didn't stick too bad, was this is the plastic off of the magnetic sheets that I got. So just a piece of plastic. And let me get this on here. Before I did it down here, and so there's still a little bit of glue on there, so I don't want to do it in the same spot, so we'll do it right here. And so we'll just put our toilet paper on here and just carefully, you don't really want to drag. This is very cheap toilet paper, and so you don't want to drag your brush across it because it could rip it. So just kind of get the whole thing wet, and then put on another piece. Just layer them up. And now this time I'm going to push it down, and this time I'm going to use water glue. And water glue again is 2 parts glue to 1 part water. Just Elmer's glue, school glue from the dollar store. This is school glue from the dollar store. Now with the water glue, it's you are going to brush it just a little bit, because if you pat it, the toilet paper wants to stick to your brush. So you're going to very carefully just kind of spread it around. And after that first piece being down wet with the water, that kind of helps hold it. And then we'll just go with our next piece. And this time we'll just use a little bit of water. And we're just going to do this until we have all of our layers. We'll put our next piece. Hopefully the dogs don't start barking. They just thought they heard something. First I just press it down and then put the glue on. And you don't need to get it super saturated, but you do just want to try and make sure that you get the glue everywhere. And this does come out with some really nice texture on it. It doesn't have like the pattern of the toilet paper, but it winds up quite wrinkly, which I really like the look that it has when it comes out. So just so that you know that it's, it is going to have a texture to it. I think I've got the glue everywhere. Just a few more here and we'll be all set. The water goes on much easier, but don't be tempted on these flat ones to not use your water glue because they do not like to stay together if you just get them wet. Okay, because I'm going to fold this in half, I do want to make sure that that stays where it belongs. A little bit more water. Okay, we have one more layer of glue. And then our last piece. And then after I get this done, I'm going to take it off of the plastic and put it on the parchment. But just make sure we get the water, or the water glue everywhere. And I do like the glue from the Dollar Tree. It comes in a 2-pack for $1, so it's cheaper than the Elmer's. Elmer's is good, and actually if you have the Elmer's, sometimes you don't have to put quite as much glue to water ratio. But this works really well, and you get twice as much. And this is our last one. Water on there. Now with these ones you don't squish the water out, because with the glue, if you try and squish the water out, it's going to stick to your paper towel. And there we go. So now we've got 7 layers, and because of the shape of my duck, if I fold it directly in half, it's not going to be quite big enough, so I'm going to fold it on an angle, because then he'll fit. I'm going to use my brush, and it does tend to, especially if your fingers get kind of sticky from the glue, it wants to stick to your fingers, so you have to kind of be careful with that. And we're just going to take our duck, and we're going to put him on here. And we're going to press him down. Press him right into the paper. I'm going to take it off of here. And I'm going to put it on my parchment. Now when you put it on parchment, don't put it somewhere where you already have glue or anything. You want to put it on a nice clean piece of the parchment. Spill everything. And then just press him down. Now, what I did was I just have a big vase. I filled it with water, and I just set it on top of my cookie cutter and set this whole thing aside on a nice flat surface to dry for a while, before I even try and dry it with my hair dryer or anything, because I really want that imprint to get imprinted in there really well before I start drying it. So I will be back in just a little bit and show you some of the things that we have here. Okay, I'm back to do just a little bit more. I wanted to do another one of these since I do think I'm going to throw this one away, because I'm not sure if it's going to dry. It's so thick. So I did another one, but I wanted to show you the ones that don't have any bottom in them. Sometimes your toilet paper might come over the edge a little bit, so just make sure that you push that back a little bit before, and then you can just very flatly kind of push on it to help loosen it up. And that kind of helps them come out a bit. And then just lift on the toilet paper that you left around the edge. See, this is what I was talking about before, how if you leave it around the edge, you can pull on that all the way around, and that helps you come out. Now this is what it looks like. It's got a nice little edge on it. It's a lot thinner than the other. And what I thought this would be really cool for, this is supposed to be a Christmas ball. There's also a Christmas tree like this. But I thought that this would make a really cool pendant. And once it's dry and, decorated, and you could seal it up. Now the edges are a little bit thick, but the center is very thin. And so what I will do when I'm all done, I'm going to let it dry just like this, but then I can just go ahead and I can cut these edges off where they came up over the edge and got a little bit thick. So, but then the pendant itself will be nice and thin. And the cool thing about this versus clay is it is so light. So I'm going to just set this aside to dry, and then we're going to make a pendant out of this one. And so I was going to show you another one. I have this little phone here, and I was going to show you the part about leaving the whole piece in there, or most of it, to make sure that you have something to pull out with. But actually that one pulled out so nicely that really you have kind of seen it. But I am going to make this little telephone. And now this one, unlike the others that we did, this one has got some embossing in the bottom. And so when it comes out, it's going to be like the flower and the butterfly, and it's going to have a pattern on it all ready to start with. So, but I'm going to make this one because I have an idea of something that I want to do with this one. And so I just wanted to have it. But I wanted to show you how to pull them out, and I wanted to show you that one. And kind of let you know that if you got this set, if you want to make some pendants, that would be a really nice one to make. And you actually could turn all of these into pendants if you wanted to, or pins, or embellishments on cards, or anything like that. So, but I will finish this one off camera. I'm sure you probably don't want to sit here and watch this over and over. But, yep, just remember, leave your outside edges there. Try not to fold. My biggest thing is sometimes I want to grab them and fold them in. And so, you know, like this piece that I just put in there, yes, I want to grab that and fold it in, but that outside edge, I want to leave there to help me get this out, especially since this doesn't have any other way for me to push it out of here, because it is solid. But, so, and this also lets you know that, you know, if you have a solid die, they do work. You don't, you know, it doesn't have to be like the soft dies that you can push on them and release that way. You know, even this solid plastic works just fine. And it does release very easy if you leave that extra layer up there. So, but I'll be back and I will show you the phone and everything else that we have done, and show you maybe a few things that we could do with them. Okay, I'm back, and I thought I would show you how things are turning out, and then I think what I'm going to do, because this video is already getting long, is I'm going to do a supplement video to show you some of the things that I have in mind to do with some of these that I've already made. So we made, this is the camera that I did, or not the camera. I keep thinking it's a camera because I think that looks like a camera. This is the phone that I did, and the balloons that we made first. And then here is the one that looks like a pendant. And so with this one, I just wanted to show you how, you know, it's very deep right here, but that's just because we had it sticking up over the edge. So you just go in there with your scissors and just trim down to the flat part. And just do it very carefully. Now this, actually, I shouldn't probably be doing this right now. It's not quite 100% dry. And what I did with these was, I just set them out on my deck. I just put them on my glass here because I figured that might even give a little extra heat. And I set them in the sunshine, and they dried really nicely in a few hours. So, but yeah, you just go ahead and just cut off all that extra. And that'll get it all kind of down to the same level. So go around there like that. Okay, there we go. Now that looks pretty good, except for right here. See, it has the lip all the way around, but right here I kind of have taken that lip off. I think what happened was I think that the toilet paper kind of lifted away from itself. So let's see. Let's put it in here and see how that fits in there. Nope, I did actually cut it off because there is a piece missing. So I can do one of two things. I can just trim the whole thing and trim the little lip off all the way around, which is what I think I'm going to do. Or I could just put it back in here and just fill in the part where I cut it off. And I would put in one solid sheet, and then I would put this in, and then I would just fill in this little spot right here, and probably use a little bit of water glue with that one just to keep it all together, and then I would have the lip all the way around. But I think what I'll do is just, when it's completely dry, I am just going to trim that little lip off of there so that it's just this flat portion here. So, and then I wanted to show you, here's our duck that we did. I let him sit with, I had put, he was on the parchment paper, and I put a heavy vase on top full of water and let him sit for a while. Then I brought him over here. I took him off of the parchment, or he wasn't on parchment, he was on the plastic. I took him off the plastic and set him on the parchment. And then I used my blow dryer just to dry the top until it was not super sticky wet. And then I dried the bottom, and as I dried the bottom, once it was pretty dry, when it's real wet, if you go to touch it, you're going to like lift that up, it's going to stick to your finger. So when it starts getting to a damp dry, then as you're drying it, just kind of rub. If you want a little extra dimension to it, if you just rub and kind of push in the spots, that makes your line, and press on the lines too, just press really good, and then kind of dent in where all of the hollow spots are, and then that kind of makes it dent up in here, and you're going to have that raised when he's dry. Now he's still not dry, but it's only been maybe about 2 hours with him. So, but when he's done, this is what they look like when they're done. You take that off, and this is what you have. And then when you cut it out, it can look like this. And I think that that's really cute, and I have a plan for him. And so that's what you can do with your flat ones to get a nice little flat. That'd be good on a card or anything. It's not two-dimensional, but it does, again, where you pushed in, you know, just to give yourself, and don't push hard, just kind of pat, because if you push too hard, you're just going to rip it. So just pat, 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 and I just kind of do that as it's drying quite often. Just walk past and pat it down a little bit and push where the cookie cutter is to get some really nice lines. But I think that he turned out really cute. So you can paint them. You can, like this one, make sure you seal them with water glue or with paint, especially if you didn't use water glue in your mold when you made them. So these are the types of things that you can make with basically toilet paper, water, and water glue. So, and I'm going to come back because I do have an idea. I have a plan for this one, and I have a plan for this one. And I wanted to do the balloons, and I wanted to do this one. So we'll see. Oh, maybe even that one. So we'll see how far I get, and I'll come back and show you if I actually get the time to do what I want to do. So, and then for next week, what we're going to need for next week is 3 more packages of these. It's got 2 dripper bottles and 1 spray bottle. If they came 3 spray bottles, I'd tell you to just do that, but they don't come that way. So this is from the Dollar Tree, and they have them like this. They also have 3 of just the drip bottles. You don't want that package. You want the one with the spray, just like we got when we made our food coloring. You want those packages. So we actually had bought 3 of these packages to do our 6 food colorings. So we have 3 bottles left. And so we're going to want to buy 3 more of these packages. So we'll have 3 more spray bottles. And that's what we're going to need for next week. We're going to need our spray bottles. We will need the food coloring we bought when we made our dyes, or some more dye packs from Easter. And we are going to need our eyeshadow that we bought when we made our glimmer paints and our glimmer glues, like this. Okay, I needed to add this in. It's probably looking funny because it's going to just pop in the middle somewhere, but I forgot to tell you that you needed some liquid hairspray, the pump type, not the aerosol type. So go ahead and get this for next week also. So that's what we will need for next week. And so I hope that you enjoyed seeing this process and have fun making some. They really are fun to make, and when you don't have the clay or, you know, the paper clay or anything like that, this works out really nicely. And, you know, surprisingly enough, these are still kind of damp, but I mean, you know, they really, they turn out really nice. And the great thing is they're so light. That makes it even better. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.